Welcome to Vibrational Revelations. My name is Elena.
My name is Alejandro.
Thank you so much for being part of the Vibrational Revelations YouTube community. If you are joining us for the very first time and curious what it is that we are revealing and how we do what we do, Alejandro and I, this is actually our 5th year having a live revelations experience where we dive deep using scalar wave technology into different characters, personalities, places, organizations, you name it, we've tested it all. We look at the vibrational frequencies and levels of consciousness to help navigate the reality with more ease and flow. Now, we will be posting the link below for the scale that we use, which is vibrational frequencies of awakening scale. So if you want to understand deeper meaning of all the numbers we're going to reveal to you today, please make sure that you click the link below. As well as we're running a special for our private membership community at 65% off for $111 a year. And this is a backlog of all of the previous episodes, which we have over 200. So it's a full library of all the episodes we've done in the past. Plus, once a month, we go live into live discussions, answering all kinds of questions that you might be having. You might have a burning desire for us to reveal someone or to look at an organization. This is a place where we call it a safe container to reach out and interact with us live and also meet like-minded people from around the world. Now, today's episode is based on the latest events that are taking place in regards to 2 Hollywood individuals. And there's a lot of controversy surrounding those 2 individuals. So we thought it might be a great opportunity to dive deep into their psyche, how they perceive their own reality. And also, this is a great idea to also give us some insight into how they would interact with their environment. Because when we're able to look into the level of consciousness and vibrational frequencies of individuals, it gives us a deep insight into what makes these individuals tick, you can say. Now, we did not look into their past, although this is something that we do offer, right? We do lifetime vibrational frequencies. So, of course, most human beings shift unless they are what we call the shadow players or the great shadow awakeners. In this case, we're just giving you a snapshot of where they are today, which it does take time for somebody to embody this vibrational frequencies that we're going to reveal to you today. I remember actually this case when we were looking into Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Remember we did that episode before? I think it was a couple of years ago because it was a big court case and there was a lot of controversy around those 2 individuals who were married. In this case, we're going to reveal Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. They're not, of course, not married. They were working together on a film, which came out, I think this year, right? The film came, oh no, last year, 2024. What was the
Yes.
name of the movie?
Well, it was filmed.
In
It started in 2023, and it ended the first quarter, I believe, of 2024.
Okay,
Right.
so the film was launched in 2024, released on Netflix. I have not seen it. You have seen the
I've
film,
seen the
right?
film.
So anyway, let's dive into those 2.
The title is "It Ends with Us."
It ends with us.
Yes,
Also
it's
very
a
interesting.
great message, I felt.
And it's about domestic violence, right?
Mhm.
That's what
Yes.
the film is
So the
about.
intention is to empower females
Mm,
that are, especially females, that are going through this
okay.
situation. So for them to realize that it is time to change, right? And make a shift, for them to be, encourage them to be brave enough to cut the cords.
Okay. So, but anyway, it happened. So the whole controversy is surrounding the filming, right? What happened around the film uh, or on the set. So let's dive into these 2 individuals. The scale that we use, again, from 0 to 1,000, we do break down the scale into the 5 major categories. So the victim consciousness, activation consciousness, inspiration consciousness, illumination consciousness, and then the 1000 frequency is the frequency of divine essence, or the inner essence that exists within each and every individual. Again, this particular series and the work that we do is not meant to place judgments on people with numbers. So for those of you that are not familiar with our work, but more to take a step back and look into the deep psyche of an individual. And there's so many ways that each and every one of us, or our reality, is shaped by the experiences we've had, the childhood that we've had. So again, there's so many nuances. So we're just giving you a small snapshot into these individuals. And let's remember that both of these individuals have families, they have children, so they're parents, they have people around them who love them. So again, having the compassion for both people is very important, holding that container of whatever it is they're going through. And we wish for the best outcome for all individuals involved.
Yes, and it is overall to bring awareness so we can understand ourselves better, and always be compassionate towards other people's experiences and journeys.
Yes.
And with this insight, we're going to gain a deeper understanding of the dynamics of our inner dialogue, as what filters get activated, represented, or reflected in emotions, and to understand the different levels of resistance and how that impacts our perspective as of how we process what we perceive, and how we behave based on how we perceive reality.
Yes,
Yeah.
because this also gives you an insight into their interaction, the frequency, the energies when they merge, right, based on where they stand in different aspects of their life. So we're looking into 36 categories, right?
Yes.
So how these energies merge and perhaps trigger each other. This is also something for you to leave thinking about. If there's something in your life that is out of alignment, if you're being triggered on a deep level, this is an invitation for you to look deep within yourself and recognize that there's aspects that are still wanting to be healed, right? There's a part of you that is seeking the healing. So again, staying as neutral as possible, we're going to reveal to you the vibrational frequencies, and we'll start with ladies first. So Blake Lively, okay? So Blake Lively incarnated. So we look at the incarnation. This is the moment the soul decides to enter this reality, and it happens in utero. So she incarnated at the frequency of 310, which is the frequency of eagerness. Anything above the frequency 200 and higher. So again, below 200 has to do with victim consciousness. 200 and above, it starts off 200 is activation consciousness. It goes until 499. So this is the realization that we're all connected. So she came or incarnated at a frequency of 310. She was born at the frequency of 55, and 55 is detachment. And oftentimes what we see is the 55, when the impact of whatever the circumstance is around gestational period, when the baby is developing in utero to the moment of birth, there's a lot of things that can influence the state of consciousness of an infant. And there's many studies that have been done on women who are pregnant and how their emotional state, their belief systems will impact the child, as well as our ancestral lineage through the mitochondrial DNA also gets passed from generation to generation into the newborn baby. And in this case, this is a girl, right? So she was born at a frequency of 55. So there was this massive drop in vibrational frequency and levels of consciousness from the moment of incarnation, 310, to birth at 55. And by the way, we see a lot of times these massive drops in people in our own private vibrational frequencies that people order.
Yes, and it's important to be reminded that our parents and the environment and family members included and friends, are contributing to set up this new and the first, I will say, boot camp of contrast for us to prepare us to what is to about to unfold after birth, right? So all these emotions that have been imprinted in utero are really are setting up the platform
For the soul's evolution.
exactly, to so we can begin our journey and be somewhat feel prepared to what is about to unfold, right?
Yes.
So there's no need, and obviously we always say this, it's not their fault, it's no one's fault, because from a higher perspective, we all have decided to have this, to experience this different vibrational frequencies,
Yes.
right?
So her overall vibrational frequency as of today is 125. Now, 125 is the frequency of desire, the unfulfilled desire. So when people have this unfulfilled desire frequency, it has tendencies to express itself in different ways or different patterns of addiction. So there could be some addictive patterns related to this 125. And again, we don't know Blake Lively personally, but this is something to think about. Where in your life do you give your power away to some kind of addictive patterns in your life, right? All right, health. So we look at health overall. Again, we're not looking if somebody is healthy or unhealthy. We look at how they view, or what is the filter that is being activated in relationship to health. The overall vibrational frequency is, again, 125, which is this desire, unfulfilled desire. Connection to mind, 125. Connection to body, 125. And connection to soul is 55. So oftentimes when we see this lower vibrational frequency as far as connection to soul, it actually means that there's this disconnect, disassociation pattern that is happening. This is a very interesting frequency because it shows that on a deeper level, there's perhaps trauma that has occurred or has been passed on from generation to generation. So there is this big disconnect on a soul level, and these unfulfilled desires that are expressing themselves through mind and body. Finances, she views through the lens of 250. 250 is this very kind of neutral lens of observation. So sometimes people that have the 250 frequency, it could be that they're just comfortable in this 250 observance phase, or it could be that they've moved into this phase, depending on where you are in your overall vibrational frequency. In this case, I would say finance is a comfortable area for Blake. Relationships. She views relationships through the lens of 55. Again, detachment, disconnect, but also through the years of us doing the vibrational frequencies, what we've realized is 55 frequency actually is the frequency of manipulation.
Yes, because is when one creates or builds a shield of protection, right, to remain emotionally disconnected, because at some point it felt that it was too much to cope with what's happening, with what's taking place, and created a shield of protection. So
It's a
what happens is
response.
when, right, when this different situations arise that they have a similar vibrational frequency, similar impact emotionally, then the person decides, okay, there's no way, I don't want to go back to this, I don't want to re-experience this. So then they tend to manipulate
Their environment
in order to avoid experiencing or re-experiencing this
Yes.
feeling, right?
So now we look at relationship to self. How does she relate to herself? And it's a frequency, again, of 55. So there's definitely, based on this pattern, right? Because she didn't incarnate as a shadow player. She came here in the frequency of light, you can say. The 55 is more as far as relationship to herself. It's a trauma response to create the shield, as Alejandro said, shield of protection, so it's not being able to be penetrated. So therefore, in order for no one to penetrate the shield, manipulation has to happen to protect what perhaps she doesn't want to experience.
Yes, and when you're in that frequency, you tend to think that many things represent a threat. So therefore, you're manipulating constantly, trying to avoid everything that
Yes.
might lead you into re-experiencing that horrible feeling.
Yes.
Right?
Relationship to others is also 55. So again, there is an element of detachment, which is also linked to the element of manipulation. Philanthropy, the art of sharing and giving, and it's a frequency of 175. And this has vanity element to it to make yourself look good to the outside. But inside, there is a lot of insecurity and vulnerability that is covered up. Service to self is 175. Service to others is 55. So again, the shield of manipulation, or there's an element of this detachment manipulation that is linked to sharing your gifts with others.
Mm-hmm.
Personal growth is 200 in her case. And I would say in her case, this is her guiding light. So she does have an element of heroism, an element of activation, recognition that yes, we're all connected. Everything is connected. And I wish that this light, that is her guiding light, going to spill over throughout all the rest of her chart. So she does have a light that is very bright, that is there to guide her. But there is also this trauma response based on some of the things that happened perhaps in her early developing years and maybe throughout the rest of her life. Intuition overall is 100. Again, we're not measuring how intuitive she is. We're just giving you information on what is her consciousness filter that gets activated when information flows through. And there is an element of worry and fear. There's 4 aspects of intuition that we test. Clairaudience is 100. Again, worry and fear. Clairsentience, which is feeling in the body, is 125. So again, there's this element of unfulfilled desire, addictive patterns. Clairvoyance is 125. And claircognizance, inner knowing, is linked to fear and worry. So when information flows through, worry and fear is what gets activated. IQ is 250. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is 55. So she doesn't feel safe in her emotions because she puts that shield of detachment and manipulation. Social quotient, SQ, oftentimes what we see with people who are celebrities, they have higher SQ level. SQ, social quotient, is also linked to your level of magnetism. And in her case, SQ is 500. AQ, adversity quotient. What happens when she's being pushed to the limit or when her trauma is being activated? And in her case, her response to that, her coping mechanism, is the frequency of 55. So to absolutely detach, and therefore you can manipulate your environment, or there's a desire to manipulate your environment if you don't feel safe when you're being challenged. The next is we're going to go into percentages. How much does she enjoy playing her role in this reality? Regardless of your frequency, we're all here to experience joy. So in her case, she enjoys her role 49%. So not that much, but also, when we see such a big gap from incarnation of 310 to where she is today, 125, she's far away from where she incarnated from. So there's a lot of resistance. In the ego, 100%. And ego, we divide into 2 categories, inferior and superior. Inferior is where you feel you're not good enough. Whatever you do, you'll never be good enough. And this is where majority of population falls. And in her case, she's 100% in her inferior ego. So Deep down, she feels like she's not worthy, right?
Not good enough.
Not good enough.
Or whatever she does is not good enough.
Yes.
Right?
In the now, 54%. Her integrity is 75%. We measure integrity to self, 83%. So when you see that someone's integrity to themselves is below 90, it also shows you that a person tends to betray their own feelings and desires. And it can be if you have 55s in your chart and you just detach, you don't want to face the deepest wounds that you have in your own life, in your own psyche. So there's a lot of things that are being triggered here. And her integrity to others is 63%. So as a result, when you betray who you are on a deepest level, it's easy to manipulate them because you're detached others as well, or how you relate, what information you share, you don't share,
Yeah, you
because it's not safe. You don't feel safe.
sacrifice your own truth, because this is integrity is really what we measure is how loyal and faithful you are to your own truth, which is
Yes.
doesn't have to be her truth, Elena's truth, or my truth, right?
Yes.
And it is about the programming and the belief system. So how loyal and faithful you are to your belief system, we can say. Yeah.
Yes. Now we're going to go into self-awareness, how aware she is of herself, as far as also relationship of this frequency that she's embodying, the 125. And in her case, the self-awareness is at 73%. Her clarity is 79%. So usually what we see is people who have high self-awareness and high clarity, they're in the 90% and above. Alignment with divine purpose. Many people over the years have said this is their most important number to them, how aligned they are with their divine mission. And you could say their soul's mission. In her case, it's 79%. So she's still trying to figure out or to connect. But in order to connect to your divine purpose, your soul's mission, you have to be in full integrity to who you are and embody that to the fullest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, alignment with her personal purpose, which oftentimes we say it's persona driven or ego driven. And in her case, it's 94%. So she's living out more of her persona self versus the deep soul's mission of what she came here to be. And you know what? She's still quite young. And we've seen, if you join our community, there's many members in our community that have shared their stories, what we call the hero's journeys. And we've seen some cases where people can be embodying frequency of 55 until 40, 50 years old. And then something happens, an event in their life happens, and they have a big awakening. And I'm hoping that in Blake's case, because she did not yet come here as a shadow player, she came here as a light, that this experience will serve as a catalyst for her to awaken to her full potential, to live out the light that she came here to be.
Mm-hmm.
Compassion, 98%. So she is a compassionate person. Compassion to others, 98%.
And it's always, we have found a very clear pattern when it comes to the level of joy and the correlation between the level of joy and the alignment with divine purpose. So it is, at the end, we all came here to experience, freedom, joy, and expansion, but doing the things that we enjoy the most. And of course, we experience more joy when we're being authentic and genuine with ourselves, loyal and faithful to our truth. And that impacts directly, has a direct impact to your alignment with divine purpose.
Yes. So she is compassionate. Her empathy is at 99%. She's very empathic. And perhaps this is why, sometimes when we don't have the right tools, and when you are an empath and you feel so much, and you've had a lot of trauma in your life, you tend to create this 55 frequency shield not to feel. But it becomes worse experience for you when you resist what it is that you're feeling versus facing your deepest and darkest trauma, shadows, going to the abyss of who you are.
Right, because it creates a stagnation and prolongs the
The painful experience.
painful experience, right? Or slows down the process of evolution or personal growth.
Mhm.
I know everything comes in divine timing, and it's
Yes.
all about our level of readiness, right? But the overall vibrational frequency of 125, this unfulfilled desire, is without a doubt that yearning for a greater experience, a greater feeling, and especially knowing that her incarnation at 310, so she knows deeply the level of 310
Mhm.
as she's familiarized with this level of consciousness. So now is her current stage is about seeking and searching and wanting to get back to that, to her base in a way, right? But that, of course, that doesn't mean that that's her ceiling. No, it's just she's
It's
familiar.
known
So the thing
territory.
that she remembers the most, we should say, right? Because the 1000, we feel that every human being has access to that 1000 frequency
Mhm.
within. It's all about what filters we activate that prevent the flow of that divine essence.
Yes.
Right?
Now, her energy purity, so this is the last number in her case. It means how much does she embody the frequency of 125? And in her case, it's 49%. So there's a lot of resistance, a lot of interference in her energy field. And that could be due to so many different things. Like, for example, not to say it's in her case, but in other cases that we've seen, it could be negative thoughts you entertain when you're worried a lot. You're overanalyzing, overthinking, people who are taking all kinds of medications, abusing drugs, things even that take people into psychedelic journeys. We've seen that as well. So there's so many nuances that can influence it. Again, we don't know Blake, so we don't want to imagine what it could be. It doesn't matter actually what it is. She knows what it is. So we would say that in order to shift your energy purity, the state of consciousness that you embody, it's going to come with a lot of support system in her case, patience, compassion. And I would say there is a term that I've heard Dr. Gabor Mate use, compassionate inquiry. I love that term. And that is really the way we recommend approaching yourself, to have this compassionate inquiry about yourself. Look at yourself as if you are a little boy, little girl, and treat yourself with the utmost love and compassion. So this is Blake Lively's numbers. Now we're going to dive into Justin Baldoni.
Baldoni. Justin Baldoni's overall vibrational frequency is 400. That's the level of discernment. Yes. Usually one is able to analyze big amounts of data or be in charge of big systems and wanted to systematize things, or was good on discerning information, compartmentalized information, and categorized, classified. You get it. When it comes to his frequency at incarnation, he incarnated at the frequency of 500, which is 500 is the state of flow. Yes. Frequency at birth, he was born at the frequency of 100. So he experienced a major, a drastic drop there from 500 down to 100. And as Elena explained earlier, is due to the environment, right? And whatever, especially his parents, most of the time, what the mom is experiencing, because the mom tend to spend more time with the child.
Well, this is while he's in in her womb. So as he's
Exactly.
developing, what is she experiencing during that time?
Exactly. So he was greatly impacted by it. Was born on the frequency of 100, right, which is worry, and there's that is, as I always say, a level of resistance. We call it from 0 to 1,000. You talk about a 900 gap from 100 to 1,000, right, of resistance. Now, when it comes to the aspect of health, he is at 500. Again, the state of flow. I mean, he has established a very good relationship with that aspect. That is the filter that he activates when he processes the information, anything related to the aspect of health. The filter of 500 flow, state of flow. When it comes to the aspect of mind connection, or connection to mind, is 450. It's still the discernment between discernment and flow, but it's still discernment. Now, connection to body is 500. Connection to soul, 500 as well. So he has developed a I would say, healthy relationship with this aspect.
But I also think it's important to look at it. When somebody's born at a frequency of 100 and they are at 400, it also shows an individual that has done a lot of inner work. Okay. So he's somebody, I'm sure, that's been committed to personal growth for many years, had to overcome a lot of his own shadows and demons to come from a frequency of 100 and be at 400.
Yes.
And again, there's still a gap to 1,000, but you can see it's an individual who is evolving.
Exactly. Like going back to
Blake
Lively, she was born at the frequency of 55, and now
Yes.
she's
A
at
120
125 overall. And still, you can see there is
desire
a
to
desire to evolve, right? To experience a greater feeling. The same thing here is definitely the numbers give you a point of reference as also where you stand vibrationally speaking, and what filters get activated, as we said, when it comes to processing the information that you perceive. Yes? But it's not about good or bad, negative or positive, right or wrong, because every human experience is a beautiful experience and it's a divine experience.
and it's valid
And
for
exactly.
every soul's unique journey.
No one is better or worse than anyone. Believe me, we have not only felt it, but confirmed it doing this work for the past almost 6 years.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to the aspect of finance, is 400. Creativity, 700. Yes, so that means he is in the
Illumination.
We call it the illumination consciousness, illumination stage, right? So where you're approaching the level of pure essence. So there's a very 300 on the scale of resistance, only 300 gap between 700 and 1,000, which is one has the ability to create
access infinite
yes,
level of creativity, which we all have access
exactly.
to it.
Because it's all about the feeling, right? The higher your frequency, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more joy you're going to experience. The more joy you're going to experience, the freer you're going to feel. And the freer you feel, the higher your alignment with your divine purpose, which is, as Elena mentioned, is for most, and including ourselves, is yours too, right? The alignment with divine purpose, the most important number overall, yes, is the key. And so in his case, creativity at 700. So that's a wonderful indication that he's a creative individual who pays attention to that and utilizes that to incorporate that into his to easily incorporate the creative aspect in his journey, his life.
And he's an actor, so it makes sense.
Right, and a producer. Too, right? When it comes to the aspect of relationships, he activates the filter of 250, yes, which is the objectivity, right? So he's comfortable with that aspect.
He observes. It's like observing your environment.
right?
The people that surround you.
Now, the ultimate is to become the observer, as of to where you don't get lost in the emotions and the chaos, right? You're really able to observe, be the observer and the one that is being observed. And so that is a higher level, of course. The one can experience more often, like in the case of Justin Baldoni, when it comes to creativity, he's in navigating the creative aspect of his being creative. He's definitely a lot closer to be a full-blown observer, right? Because there's a lot less resistance there. Now, when it comes to relationships to self, it's also 250. Relationships to others or with others is also 250.
And I have a feeling
So
that
it's-
actually this is one of the aspects he has had to work on a lot in his life.
Yes. And as usually we have noticed with most people that we have done lifetime vibrational frequency analysis for, that, throughout their lives, that we see that relationships, though the aspect of relationships is most of the time the last aspect to rise, or
That
that
and
takes the
adversity
most,
quotient.
along with adversity quotient. Exactly. Yes. The next is philanthropy. I would say the art of giving, sharing, not only with other people, but with yourself too, right? In this case, he activates a filter of 400. Service to self, also 400, and service to others, 250. So that means that he's neutral and comfortable with that when it comes to service to others. Now we go into personal growth, as Elena mentioned, that without a doubt, and is as looking at his of the numbers that we have revealed up to this point, indicate that he's a person that has been fully committed to evolve, right? To that is seeking that greater feeling and to experience it as well, and fully committed to his personal growth. In this case, for Justin, that activates a filter of 700 under the aspect of personal growth.
So that's his guiding light.
That is his guiding light, that it is
Commitment to evolution.
exactly. Intuition, he activates a filter of 400. Again, discernment. When it comes to intuition, he analyzes, the intuitive insights that he perceives. And within intuition, we have also measured the 4 aspects of clairaudience at 400, clairsentience at 500, which is most of the time, if not at all times, is directly linked to the aspect of health, the aspect of clairsentience, which is in this case,
Same
is
connection
exactly
to
the
body.
same. Connection to body, connection to his intuition. When it comes to the aspect of clairsentience, the feeling is 500 as well. Clairvoyance is 700, so he's able to visualize, have visions, images.
I would say that's very interesting because he's an artist. So
Uh-huh.
you would imagine that for artists, at least for me, I imagine artists have the ability to perceive with much more clarity than an average person.
Yes.
Right? So that clairvoyance and clairsentience, I would say, are 2 very important elements for actors.
Yes. And this doesn't mean that he's at all times experiencing visions. It's just that when it happens, he's extremely comfortable with that, right? He takes and
Visionary.
runs with it, right? Now, claircognizance is at 310 when it comes to his knowing, the certainty that he feels that alignment and runs with it is at the level of eagerness.
It's the lowest number, so
which is
somehow
the
he
lowest
doesn't.
numbers out of all of them. But based on the other numbers and the fact that it's evident that he's transcending and experiencing higher and higher levels of consciousness throughout, especially being born at the frequency of 100, that the claircognizance will continue to evolve if he remains in this path, right?
But I
Where
feel
he's going
that
to
if
feel
he
more
needs to
certainty.
learn, if my advice would be, if that's your lowest number, to learn to trust your gut feeling.
A lot more practice,
lot more.
exactly, which it comes from experience.
Don't
Yes.
doubt yourself. So if you have a number, this is just generically, your claircognizance is lower than your other numbers. It means that you have a lot of doubt. So don't doubt yourself. Trust the first intuitive hint that comes. Trust that.
Yes, yes. And then stick to it. And the best way is to write it down. You journal it. And then every time you are reminded of this intuitive insight, but the feeling somewhat dissipates, the more we think about it, the more we analyze it, we deviate away from the initial feeling. But by reading it, you remind yourself and re-experience that initial feeling. And that's how you can reactivate that high frequency and be guided by that and follow it. Take little steps, baby steps, but take action, because that's the best way to gain experience, and that brings confidence. Yes. And trust, obviously, along with it. Now, when it comes to the intelligence aspect, under IQ, he activates the filter of 250. EQ, emotional quotient, is 500. The state of flow when it comes to emotional
So
quotient.
also, I wanted to bring up because we are bringing up two individuals. One individual, Blake, who has the shield of protection around her emotional intelligence at 55, and Justin with his emotions, he's wearing it on his sleeve, you could say, right, at 500 EQ. So it's like we have two drastic polar opposites who are trying to merge together, work on a project, and it's going to be like oil and water. There's going to be repulsion.
But it is truly fascinating how this movie came about, right? And that the actors, the main actors or characters in this movie, which has a great message.
I haven't seen it, so Alejandro watched it without me.
You know, because many females will experience
resonate
this
with that.
really abuse, domestic abuse. That these two opposites came together to give birth to this beautiful message, right? And I say that without a doubt, the blessing out of this conflict is bringing awareness. Unfortunately, that it has to happen this way, or it is happening this way, but it's bringing awareness for people to pay attention to this message, right? And learn from it. So
divinely orchestrated.
The universe has sometimes funny ways to
share, to bring awareness.
Now, when it comes to social quotient for Justin Baldoni, is 900. It's extremely high, one of the highest we have measured. We have found other people in the 950, 1000, but they're very few. And that 900, that means he's extremely magnetic, and people feel his presence, right? Strongly, without a doubt. At 900 he's extremely comfortable.
Like, as an example, I just remembered, like, we read Freddie Mercury. So if you have not seen that episode, I believe it's out on YouTube from 3 years ago. And Freddie Mercury had overall frequency of 125, which he embodied this and suffered also in that frequency of unfulfilled desire with addictions and all kinds of things. But he had the SQ, the level of magnetism, social quotient was 950. He was able to go on stage and millions of people would feel him, right? Feel his energy. So regardless of what his vibrational frequency was, people felt him, his frequency through the SQ, through his level of magnetism. And it goes also to, like, for example, Marilyn Monroe. I remember, she also had this very high vibrational frequency as far as social quotient compared to her overall vibrational frequency. So this is why some people are called celebrities or stars, right? Stars, because they have this magnetic pull and you don't know what it is, but you're
Exactly.
pulled towards them.
Yes.
So Justin has that within
Another
his
great
chart.
example that comes to mind is Ozzy Osbourne, who had
Yeah.
a very low overall vibrational frequency, but when it came to the social quotient, it was through the roof.
Yes.
You know, extremely.
That's
And
your rock star. There
exactly.
you go.
And then we tend to witness their journey or see them perform a specific role that they, when they're, you know, they're good actors, they tend to embody this role fully. And that's what we see them. So we see them with activating the most comfortable filter, right? When they're at their best in a way. So we get to think sometimes we're confused when bad news or negative things come to light, thinking, oh my God, but I thought this person was amazing person, you know, a guiding light, and then poof, some facts come to the surface that are totally the opposite. And it's because we only see them performing their best, which is fine either way, right? To each his own. Everyone has their own journey to experience, to be experienced. Now, when it comes to the adversity quotient, is at 100. That's the level.
And that's what I feel is being triggered right now
Without
in
a
Justin's
doubt.
chart is this worry and deep fear. And this is the fear that he incarnated with, and worry, and perhaps it's intergenerational that's been passed down. So Blake is triggering it, and I'm sure he's triggering a lot of things in her field as well. So it's an interesting interplay.
Yes. And the adversity quotient, we have noticed that as the more you experience, the higher the level of intensity of that challenge or diversity has to be or take or bring in order for the AQ, when it has the filter of 100, to be activated, right? So the charge in it has to be higher, stronger, in order to activate that as you grow older and you have more awareness, more experience.
Until it no longer has a grip on you. And this is when you realize, I'm letting it all go.
Yes. Now
it doesn't guide my life.
Right. Now when you're able to trust yourself, when you're able to trust your inner guidance, right? And know that everything is good, everything is well, you're well taken care of, you're always being guided 24/7, no matter what. And you just have to be patient and trust. Now, when it comes to the level of joy, is at 78%. Well, we think that going through what they're going through is really will be difficult to be enjoying your journey at the moment. Right? We don't know when this level of joy started at 78, but it makes sense at this point. In the ego, again, is how loyal and faithful he is to his truth, right? It is 91%. Now, there are two types of thoughts, because that's what ego is. It's not good or bad, it's just information. And within that information, we have two types of information: the inferior version of the ego and the superior version of the ego. The inferior version of the ego are usually the things that trigger this sense of not enoughness. You know, I'm not good enough, or whatever I do might not be good enough. And there's always, you know, some people tend to become workaholics, especially when they have their overall ego 100% and 100% under the inferior ego, right? Because it's nothing, it's never enough. Now, in his case, under the inferior version of the ego is 95%. And of course, the difference is 5%. That will be for the superior version of the ego. And the superior version of the ego is when we have thoughts that we think that we're it, no one can teach us anything, we know it all. And often, if not at all, in all cases, when someone has 100% as the overall ego and 100% in the superior version of the ego, which is not the case with Justin, but for that person, will definitely show signs of narcissism. clearly. Yes. Now, in the case of Justin Baldoni, is the inferior version of the ego.
Similar to
It doesn't mean that someone with the inferior version of the ego is never going to show signs of narcissism. No, I think somewhat we all at one point, one level, depending on the circumstances, we might show signs that some people might think or take it as one is being narcissistic, right? When you're.
But I also think this term is being overused.
Yes, without a doubt. So that's why I say that some people might take it as such.
Yes.
We're not saying that. We're just saying based on the patterns that we have identified by measuring thousands of people and by speaking with thousands of people as well. When we share their vibrational frequencies and we advise them of how to release the resistance that is showing up in their field, we have recognized very clear points of references and patterns. So that's what we share for you to learn and understand. Yes. Now, when it comes to the in the now, as of how much time he spends in the now, in the present moment, to where he's not being pulled by past experiences that activate resistance or thinking about the future and activate resistance, he's at 85%. When it comes to integrity, he is at 97%. Integrity to self, 99%. Integrity to others is 96%. So he's loyal and faithful to his truth, right? At least you know that what he says he means most of the time. We can say 100% of the time. Sometimes we tend to sacrifice at certain moments. We have to wear different hats, so abstain from saying exactly what we believe because of to avoid a confrontation.
But I think there's a difference abstaining versus sharing information to manipulate, and that is the low
without
integrity.
a doubt. Yes, without.
So that's different.
Oh yes, of course. There's a clear difference between the two. But in this case, because we don't see frequencies of manipulation throughout this chart, when it's not 100% when it comes to the integrity of how loyal and faithful he is to his truth, it is more than likely due to moments too where he feels, okay, this is not the moment to share exactly what I think or what I believe, right? And we all fall into that category because there's a moment for everything, and there is the one needs to learn the art of diplomacy and learn to discern the information that is being brought to your field of perception, and also to have enough awareness to understand if this is the right moment to share what you believe. Yeah. Now, when it comes to self-awareness, it's at 95%. Clarity, 97%.
And that also is a testament to commitment to personal growth. We often see that when people are committed to personal growth. In his case, the number is 700. You see the higher numbers in self-awareness and clarity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me. When it comes to alignment with divine purpose, as of how well he's playing the divine role he decided to play before he dropped into this reality, and it's at 94%. So he is definitely, without a doubt, based on our experience and based on what the frequencies are telling us, is that he's on the right path, right?
And that path can come with a lot of challenges. No one is exempt.
Exactly.
So he's going through a hard time right now, but it is part of his journey.
Alignment with personal purpose is of how aligned he is with his personal desires, or the ego self, what the ego wants to experience, or the persona self wants to experience. And it's at 98%, right? Now, compassion is at 100%. Compassion to others or with others is at 99%.
As I said, he wears his heart on his sleeve.
Right? And the emotional quotient shows that the state of flow, I believe it was, right?
Yeah.
500. Empathy is at 100%. I think Blake Lively was also
She had very high numbers. She's also
high
a
in
compassionate,
empathy, right?
empathic
And
person.
compassion too.
Absolutely.
Yes. Energy purity. This is, again, as I say, that is about how pure one's energy is, because the energy of all of us is 100% pure. This is more about how much the person is or one is embodying the current level of consciousness that is being experienced. In his case, he's experiencing the level of discernment of 400. And energy purity for him is at 97%. Once we reach the 100% level, we're embodying that level of current level of consciousness to the fullest, then we're ready to experience the next level.
The higher state of consciousness.
Level up to which will be the state of flow, right? At 500. And that will take to release some of the resistance that is being experienced throughout his chart. And, AQ, perhaps increase the level of consciousness when it comes to the aspect of relationships and so forth, right? Now, we measured how much time he's experiencing the fifth dimension, which is the state of flow. We have measured the frequencies of all the dimensions. And the fifth dimension is the state of flow. In his case, he's experiencing it 54% of the time. So more than likely is, without a doubt, linked to his creativity.
But also whatever
the
he does
aspect
with
of health, right? And
personal
connection
growth.
to, personal growth, connection to soul, connection to body. And
whatever practices one person embodies, whether it's meditating, working on yourself, whatever that means for you.
Yes, the social quotient, the 900, the EQ 500, and also the clairsentience at 500, and the clairvoyance at 700. So whenever he's experiencing that, it's contributing to experiencing the fifth dimension 54%, including the sleep state,
dream
state that is for all of us the moment to where the soul healing occurs, right? And that will be,
that concludes the episode for today.
And it ends with the fifth dimension with for Justin Baldoni.
And hopefully he'll be able to stay there. But anyway, this is an interesting character analysis. If you are interested in getting your own vibrational frequency analysis done, of course, I'll post the link below. And over the last couple of years, Alejandro has created an incredible system to where you receive a report. It's 36 page report. So it gives you a lot of insights and also ways that you'll be able to shift, if you're curious and interested, your own vibrational frequency.
Yes, it really is.
It's a life-changing
experience.
Yes.
Without a doubt, because you know exactly where you stand, and now brings you enough awareness to realize that you are the creator of your reality and that you have direct access to all that is, to the source of creation. And within that report, not only breaks down every a level of consciousness that you're experiencing or in frequency that you're experiencing throughout your vibrational frequency analysis, but also gives you specific affirmations linked to the emotions that were imprinted onto you while you were in utero.
And the emotions you're currently
that impacted your your first drop, right? Technically, from birth to, from incarnation to birth, and then also
current activated
emotions. So you have affirmations that you can use to release the resistance with practice, and enough information to understand how we do what we do and what we share. So it's very, very, very important information that we recommend to
Absolutely. I always say
everyone to
that, you know,
explore.
most people go to the doctor and get their blood work drawn once a year to do a physical checkup. This is a soul checkup to see where you stand. And we have people that recheck themselves every 6 months. Some choose to do it once a year. So it's
Others
up to
every
you.
3 months.
Yeah, it depends. It all depends on you and the work you are doing and
Yes,
how much you are willing to create the shift in order to contribute to the
right,
human collective consciousness rising.
right. We recommend, twice a year. We'll say that if you want to do it every 3 months or so, that's
That's
based
on
on
you.
what you feel. And people tend to want to do that because they are fully committed on learning about themselves, and they're taking courses, all the courses that are being offered, and that I offered,
Mhm.
my website, higherconsciousness.com, holistic.com, that we offer together, and or they take with other people, so they want to know, they start feeling better, that right away they want to check so they can compare. And that's one of the most beautiful things, I think, for most of us. It's important to know, not only to validate what we feel, but who wouldn't want that, right? You feel you're feeling better, or you feel you're not feeling as good as you want to feel. Well, let's see what the numbers tell me, and where is that resistance taking place. And that serves as a beautiful point of reference
Yes.
that makes it easier to navigate through one's journey.
Well said. We wish you a wonderful day. Thank you so much again for being part of Vibrational Revelations. And we'll post all the links below. Be well.
You will. Thank you.
Thank you.